In any case, Kaifeng had had a Jewish community for more than 2,000 years. Apparently, Jewish merchants had come there 2 millennia ago without women. They had married Han Chinese women. I guess they said that you could have Jewish children by having a Han Chinese woman. I don't know whether they converted to Judaism, whatever the case may be. And then, of course, since they were in a city of, say, 1 million people, which eventually became a capital of China for a period of time, the Chinese Jews looked like the rest of the Chinese, except that some of them had some brown hair. It was about the only difference you could see. It's another interesting thing in Kaifeng. It's probably the only city in China which they don't eat pork. I assume maybe because of the Judaic background in that city. Now, the last synagogue in the town had been destroyed by a flood in the middle of the 19th century. And so now we have this community of people who recognize themselves as Jews, but they're a little rusty on the Judaism. They haven't had a rabbi in town since the middle of the 19th century. Well, we're pretty knowledgeable in Jewish law and Jewish scripture, and we met a gentleman by the name of Samuel, see, nice Judaic name, Shimin. And Samuel Shimin, welcome to this house. Coincidentally, he had a little bit of work for us to do, which is fine. And so we spent that next year with him. And we used his house to have services on Shabbat. And so the Chinese community was there. Now, we had brought a number of Siddurim with us. So eventually, when we left, we only took one Siddur with us. We left the rest with them because, after all, what chance will they ever have to have any Siddurim? And we sort of gave a re-education in Judaic practice to the Jews of this town. As a matter of fact, I understand even now, in 1980, there are people who recognize themselves as Jews in that area. As a matter of fact, I am told that on their passports, it doesn't say Chinese, it says Yuda. In any case, we, at the end of a year, we came to recognize, and this is already 7 years into this trip, that we ain't going to get back this way. We're going to have to go to Shanghai and take a ship if we were ever to get back to Europe. And so, when we parted company with Samuel Shimin, we took a ferry down the Yangtze River, and from there we were going in a wagon to Shanghai. In the wagon going to Shanghai, we were stopped by a group of armed men in uniform. This was apparently the army of one of these warlords. They acted more like a bunch of bandits than a bunch of warlord soldiers, because they stripped us of all our possessions. They took our tools, and they took everyone's money. Now we have no money. We have no means of being able to earn a living, no bargain. Well, in any case, we arrive in Shanghai on the wagon, bereft of tools and bereft of money. Here, for the first time in 7 years, we met some European Jews. You see, there were some European Jews who were part of the trading community in Shanghai. And so we were told where the synagogue was, and of course we came to the synagogue on Shabbat. And people, of course, recognized that we weren't part of the trading community. And so we told our story of our 7 years of torturous travel and all the misfortunes we had gone through, going through Siberia and Mongolia and China. And I guess they had pity for us, because the following day, one of them came to the place in which we were offered some free lodging. And he handed us 3 tickets to go to Australia and a little bag of some additional money to get us started in Australia.
Australia.
And so we boarded a ship, and eventually we ended up in a suburb of Melbourne, Australia, called Balaclava. It's interesting, our town...
But you weren't trying to go to Australia, though. You were trying to go back to Europe.
Well, listen, here in Shanghai, you don't have any tools, you haven't any means of earning a living. Someone offers you a trip to a place where there's some Jews living.
You take it.
You'll take it.
All right.
So there we are in Balaclava. You know, in our town, they have 3 Orthodox congregations. One is a Lubavitcher, One is a Satmar, and one is a just plain Orthodox. So it's known as like Jewtown, as a suburb of Melbourne, Australia. It is interesting that the Jewish population in Sydney is mostly descendants of those convicts who were brought over there, just a few Jews among the many convicts. If you allegedly stole a loaf of bread, you were sent to Australia for 7 years. If you stole more than $5 worth, an American equivalent, they killed you, had you hung. Anyway, the Melbourne Australia community is mostly a post-World War II group of Jews. And there we are now in that town. Now, with the money they gave us, we were able to get some tools, and we earned a living, and we bought a lot, and we built on it a home in which we now reside. My father, Shulam, passed away at the age of 97, and here are the two of us, my brother and I. We have been damaged by all the cold and the frost and God knows what. We could never have any children. So there we are, two aged brothers, widowers, living in a house. And who should be coming to our house today? A great-grandson of my Uncle Judah, Ian Frederick Ausubel, has come to town today. He's with an American youth orchestra that's playing in Melbourne, Australia. Oh, well, we're delighted to see him. We wished he would stay, but the orchestra's going back to the United States. He can't stay here. He's got a family to go home to. And so we parted with him, and I said to him, I guess sadly, here we were, a Hasidic family, a father and mother and 10 children. You would have expected there'd be a couple of hundred of subsequent generations by now, but there are none. We're a dying twig of a once mighty branch. It is up to you to give life to the tree. And so we parted. Well, Ian has assured us that he's going to tell his father our story, and that his father is compiling these stories, which he is going to incorporate into a book series he is writing, The Other Guests, Chronicles of a People. I hope from our story, and perhaps from many of the other stories, that the world will learn not to repeat the horrific mistakes of the past. And as Rabbi Hillel said more than 2,000 years ago, when asked to explain the meaning of the Torah while standing on one foot, that which is hateful unto you, do not do unto your neighbor. All the rest is commentary. Thank you.
We've been speaking with Dr. Herbert Ausubel. You're watching Rabbi Rock. Shalom.